Hey, hey, hey. Hey, everyone. I am live again. I'm live again. Let's see, who do we have? Miss Lawana. Look at you. You are already on the live. Welcome. How are you doing? How are you doing? How's everyone doing? Welcome to my live. Today I will be talking about trims. Do y'all get your hair trimmed? Do you really think getting a trim is necessary? We're going to be talking about that today. But until we get there, you all let me know where you're streaming from. Where in the world are you today? Um, so that I can know where my audience is. So let me know where you're streaming from. Live, work, clean. It is nice to see you on the live. I feel like I know you all. This is really, really awesome. I feel like I know you. I did a Zoom on Tuesday. So if you are on my email list serve, then you got a private notice where I actually did a Zoom. So I did go live, but on a Zoom, not only can you see me, but guess what? I can see you too. So I was able to meet a lot of you all, like in person virtually. So that was nice. If you're not on my email listserv, you can go to my website, curlhouse.com, and you'll get a pop-up. And when the pop-up comes on, you can put your email in and you'll get on my email listserv. And if you're on my email listserv, of course, you will get you'll get different notifications, but you would have gotten the notification of the private Zoom that I did on Tuesday. So you could actually talk to me. So, anyway, I met some of you all for the first time. It was super, super exciting. So, thank you for joining on Tuesday and thank you for joining today. So, who are we? Where are we? Porter Ranch, California. Where is Porter Ranch, California? I'm in Virginia. I'm on the other side of the country. And, the only thing I know about California is maybe Los Angeles and San Diego. Have no idea where Porter Ranch, California is. Porter Ranch. It's in Michigan. Okay, it's rainy here. I spent 2 years in Michigan, Cindy. I did. I went to graduate school at Michigan State. So I spent 2 years in Lansing, Michigan. It was cold. And as soon as I graduated, I came on back to this good Virginia, but it was a great 2 years in Michigan. So I don't know what part of Michigan you're in, but that's, of course, the only part of California. I mean, only part of Michigan I know. Okay, so Lady T, you are in Southern California. Okay, thank you for clarifying that. So now I know there is a city in California called Porter Ranch. Okay, I got it. Let's see. Let's see. Hey, Michelle, Kia Michelle, your second live. Greetings from Philly. Okay, you're right down the street. You're right down the street. We have Alberta. Okay, live, work, clean. Is that your name? Alberta. Forgive me. Is that what city you're in, or is that your name? So, all right, I'm going to get started, y'all. Just welcoming everyone. So, the one who wants to know, did you all see the great eclipse? Now, that's a good question. I saw it, y'all, for the first time. I went out and I got my little glasses, and it was fascinating. It was fascinating to see the eclipse. Like, it was not just to see the eclipse, to actually see the sun. Because, I don't look up at the sun. And when you do look up at the sun, you see the sun rays. But with those dark glasses on, I actually saw the sun. I saw the circle. It was fascinating. It was totally, totally fascinating to see it. I think my favorite scene from the eclipse is when the sun looked like Pac Man. That's the way I described it. It looked like Pac Man at some point. So it was really, really awesome to actually see that. Let's see. Hey, we have Christina here from London. Welcome, 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 Christina. And then, okay, Canada. Okay, you're from Canada. Okay, got it, got it, got it. Oh, okay, I think I see the Canadian flag. Is that your icon? Live, work, clean. Thank you for clarifying that. Let's see, Christina from London. Awesome. So welcome, y'all. Welcome to my live. I know this is my Thursday afternoon live. I always say I'm not going to keep you long. I'm just gonna stop saying that. But I am it's Thursday afternoon here in Virginia. It's 12:30 here where I am. Most of us, some of us rather, are on our lunch break or on our coffee break. So I just wanted to pop in just for a few minutes and talk to you about the necessities of trims. Do you all think, now talk to me now, do you think a trim is necessary? I know you get trims. Some of you do them begrudgingly, but you get them. Do you think a trim is necessary? Like, does your hair really need to be trimmed? Like, can you grow and maintain healthy, fabulous hair and retain your length if you don't get a trim? I know I just asked you all three different questions, but what do you think? Do you think you need a trim? A trim's necessary. Let's see. Yes, trims are necessary for length retention. Yes, it is really just as simple as that. Yes, they are necessary. Yes, you absolutely need to get trims. So the question is not just should you get a trim? Are they necessary? But the question I get is how often. So we're going to talk about that briefly today. Of course, if you have any questions about anything, you can definitely drop them down in the chat as well. But you know who I am bringing in today? You all should know who I'm bringing in. You all know Tanika is my favorite client. Oh, I love her. When she comes to see me, oh, I get so happy when I see her because she's my favorite client, y'all. She's so easy. And guess what? When I trim her hair, I don't have to worry about her getting mad at me, or she doesn't say I cut too much hair off, or you gave me a haircut and not a trim. She doesn't say any of those things. That's why she's my favorite client. Okay, y'all know I'm silly. Okay, so I have Tanika, and I'm just going to show you um why you need a trim and what your ends look like. Well, hold on, before I even tell you that, just in general, in terms of trims, you need a trim because you have to keep in mind, you all, hair is dead. You do know that, right? Do you know your hair is you know your hair is not alive, right? Okay, your hair is not alive. Your hair is very much so dead, right? So because your hair is not alive, anything that is not living um, will have some challenges, right? Let's just put it like that. If it's not living, it's going to have some challenges. And one of the challenges that things have when they're not living is dryness or deterioration. How about that? That's a better word. So that's what your hair will do with time. So even though it's not alive, what is closest to the scalp is actually the healthiest because what is closest to the scalp gets the most moisture, natural moisture, or lubrication that comes from the sebum that your scalp produces. With our curly hair, the sebum that our scalp produces can't travel down. It's more difficult for it to travel down the your curly hair shaft. So most of the natural moisture gets locked in at the scalp or the hair that's closest to the scalp. So, if what's on the ends doesn't get what comes from the scalp naturally, then the ends are going to be the driest part of your hair. That's number one. It's the part of your hair at the ends that has been exposed to everything, has been exposed to your shampooing, your shampoo, your conditioner, your fingers twisting and retwisting, the UV rays from the sun, the environmental elements, the cold air, the hot air. It's just old deteriorated hair and it needs to be removed. in general. Now, what happens to the end, because the ends of the hair is so dry, the ends of the hair is so old, then what happens over time, your hair strand will split. Now, your hair strand is it's very fragile, right? Remember, it's not living, first of all. And then number two, as a result, it's very fragile. So the the end will naturally split. If you do nothing to your hair, at some point, your hair shaft is going to naturally split. And that is why you need a trim, because your hair shaft will naturally split, some sooner than others, but it will naturally split. So, and what happens if you look at Tanika's hair strand, aka this piece of yarn? So, this piece of yarn is one strand of hair, but once the hair starts to split, now, if you've ever seen, I have it in some of my YouTube videos, and of course, these are the things I geek out about. If you look at a hair strand under a scope, and if you look at a split end just doesn't look like a split, like two. No, it splits in half many times, and not only splits in half, the part that splits in half, a piece of that will split in half. Hold on. That will split in half like this. And once it starts to split and those ends get fragile like that, when you touch the hair strand, you can't see it as much. I can see it in my hands. But like this yarn, those hair fragments will break off in my hands. And as it splits, it doesn't just stop splitting, it will continue to split like this, higher and higher. It'll go up higher and higher up the hair shaft, like this. It will continue to split up higher if you do not trim it off. And that is why you absolutely need a trim. Because if you do not trim your ends off, again, those split ends will split up higher and higher up the hair shaft. And that is why when people say, um, some people will say, once I start getting a trim, my hair grows. Yeah, no, growth comes from here, but you're able to retain more length. Now, I know that's kind of like, it may sound like an oxymoron. You cut your hair in order for you to retain length. Well, you trim your hair, which essentially is cutting your hair. You trim your hair to retain length because even though you take hair off, it helps your future hair not to break off, because if you do not trim it, you will notice that your hair will start to split off more, break off more and more and more and more and more. And then you're not able to really get as much length as you desire because your hair keeps breaking off. And in addition to that, if you get single strand knots, which I know you do, then once your hair sheds, when your hair sheds with a single strand knot, many times you see the single strand knot at the bottom of your hair because the ends of your hair is so frayed, and the cuticle layer, which is the outer layer of hair, is not really lying as flat as it can be. The cuticle layer is lifted, similar to this thread, which is representing a hair strand, and that shed piece of hair will get caught up into this lifted cuticle, and then you're going to get single strand knots. Okay. Oh, that was a mouthful. I hope y'all got that. Okay, great example. Yes, thank you. You got it. You got it. Fabulous. So that is why you need to get a trim. Okay, so I hope y'all got that. Why you need to get a trim. Now, let me answer some of these questions, because some of the questions kind of lead me into other things that I'm talking about in terms of a trim. Do you have to wait for a TWA to grow out before you get a trim? So a TWA, for those of you who do not know what a TWA is a teeny weeny afro. If you decided to do the big chop and cut off all your hair, like I did, then you have experienced the TWA. You have rocked your TWA at some point. So, what Miss Lawana is asking, do you have to wait for a TWA to grow out before you get a trim? Well, what I recommend in terms of when you first go natural and you have your TWA, when you first go natural, remember what I said. The hair at the root closest to your scalp is the healthiest hair. So when you first go natural and you cut off your hair and it's relatively short, an inch or two, I don't recommend that you get a trim immediately. I recommend that you let your hair just grow. So when you first go natural and you have a TWA, aka a very short haircut, you do not have to get a trim within the first 3 months. I typically wait, you can wait up to 9 months, it's when I usually recommend it. You can wait 9 or 10 months before getting your first trim. Okay. So I hope that answered your question. So, and when you say, do you have to wait till the TWA to grow out? The length of everyone's TWA is really, it varies from person to person. So, what I recommend, you can start getting a trim around 4 to 5 inches. 4 to 5 inches. Okay. Now, in general, how often you get a trim? Because someone asked me that as well. Carla asked me how often you get a trim. Now, what I recommend, it generally speaking, I'm gonna say generally speaking because it varies from person to person. If you can get a trim about once a season is about every 3 to 4 months. Once a season, you can get a trim about every 3 to 4 months. And let me tell you what a trim is. A trim is not a haircut. So technically, as a hairstylist, we know that anytime you pick up your shears, these are not cutting shears, but anytime you pick up your shears, that's a haircut. But that's hairstylist language. I wouldn't say that to you because you would run out the door if I said, hey, it's time for a haircut. You would get out the chair and just run out of the hair salon. I have to say it's time for a trim because a trim denotes less hair because it should denote less hair. So, how often you need a trim? Y'all have great questions, and I'm going to answer these questions. I'm excited about these questions because I can demonstrate some of these things too. But anyway, in terms of when you get a trim is just that. When you are in the habit of getting a trim regularly, so every 3 or 4 months, you are just trimming off just a little bit less than a half an inch, less than a half an inch. I wish I had my comb so I could actually show you what a half an inch looks like. We're going to say a half an inch looks like this. It's less than this. So it's normally about an eighth of an inch. And this is just generally speaking, this is, of course, it's contingent upon how you maintain your hair. Normally, I see people who do a lot of high manipulation styles, like if you're wearing a wash and go, but if you're constantly manipulating your wash and go, if you're constantly twisting and retwisting and doing a lot of manipulation to your hair, you may need a little bit more because you're just putting more wear and tear and manipulation on your ends. But if you're just in a habit of just getting a trim once a season, you are just doing a little teeny bit, just a little bit. And even if we look at Tanika here, so this is just a demonstration, y'all. But you can see what I used to do when I did do hair so that you all didn't beat me up when it was time for a trim. I would turn my client around in the chair so that she can see what I see. So that you all don't walk out the hair salon and talk about me and say I cut all your hair off. I want you to see what I see. And a very good indication of what needs to be trimmed is the hair that you can see through. So, as an example, if we look at Tanika, let me take this off. If we look at Tanika, you can see Tanika's hair here. You see how dark Tanika's hair is here? So this is all nice, good, healthy hair. So I would turn my client, she's in the mirror, and I take that hair and I will pull it straight up. And you could see how the hair would start to get thinner and thinner. And that is an indication of how much needs to be trimmed off. So your stylist can show you that. But I also will meet people where they are. Some people are just not comfortable getting a significant amount cut off. Some people have had very poor experiences in the hair salon, and the stylist just cut too much off, or they thought the stylist cut too much off. But some people may not be ready, even if they see that, hey, you need 2 inches cut off because you haven't had a trim in 3 years. Even if they see that, they're still not comfortable. So what I would suggest, then you do what I call trim a little, grow a little. Okay. You can trim off just a little bit. Even if you don't get them all trimmed off at one time, trim what you're comfortable with ultimately, not what your stylist suggests. By all means, listen to your stylist. But if you are just not comfortable cutting off a lot, I get it. Tell her to cut off what you're comfortable with. But if you do it that way, you're going to have to go back and get that follow up trim to gradually get it trimmed off. So, this is what I recommend. That's what I recommend. Tell your stylist, let me see what needs to be trimmed. And then you'll have your aha moment like, oh, okay, I get it. So that's just an example. But trimming is just that. It's trim a little, it's just a little bit of hair, y'all. And it just makes your ends clean. It minimizes the breakage of the hair as well. That trimmed end is the trim, excuse me, the split end is not going to travel higher up your hair shaft. I don't have this pictures on a video I had of one of my clients during COVID. She always got her trimmed regularly, but COVID, she didn't come to the hair salon for a few years and she needed a lot that needed to be trimmed. And you could literally see through the hair. Now, in terms of when to get it trimmed, should you get it trimmed curly or should you get it trimmed straight? Now, some stylists are able to trim either curly or straight. Some stylists can do it either way. Okay. And this is when someone's asking me this question now. You can do it wet or dry, curly or straight. So, hairstylists, we can cut or trim hair wet, we can trim hair dry, we can do it curly, we can do it straight. It all depends on the stylist. However, most stylists will do it straight because you can see it best straight. You can see it best straight, and you can see it best straight. A trained eye, like a cosmetologist, particularly one that specializes in curly hair, can see it either way. But it is easier to do it straight. You can see what needs to be trimmed when the hair is straight as well. Um, so it all depends on the stylist. Now, when I say straight, I'm not necessarily just talking about flat ironing the hair. So I get my hair flat ironed about once a year. I always get it trimmed when it's flat ironed because you can really see it when it's flat ironed, but it doesn't have to be flat ironed straight. It can be blown out straight. So that's going to be contingent upon your stylist as well. Okay, so again, in general, I recommend every 3 to 4 months, but you can wait. I would say at bare minimum, y'all, bare minimum twice a year. Twice a year, bare minimum. Okay, let's see. That much. Let's see how you can slowly trim and protective style. Yes, so Angel, you can. So as I was saying with I'm not sure what this comment is about specifically, but I don't know if you're saying wear protective styles and trims, but yeah, the trim, if you all get in a habit of trimming regularly, so getting a trim should just be a part of your hair routine in general. And when you're doing it regularly, you are just doing a hit. You're not doing a lot. It's like a trim, you have trims, you can trim your hair due to damage because for whatever reason your hair is damaged and you need a lot trimmed. When you need a lot trimmed, technically it's a haircut, but like I said, we use the word trim because again, trim denotes you're not cutting off as much. But when you get to a certain place where you haven't had a trim in a while and your ends are really, really split and you can tell those split ends are traveling up that hair shaft, then technically that's a haircut. But if you get in a habit, so you have a trim So you're doing a trim that's because you have damaged hair, you have a lot of split ends. Then you're just doing a maintenance trim. So what I'm really encouraging you all to do is to get in the habit of just doing maintenance trims, just getting them done every 3 to 4 months, or like I said, at minimum twice a year. And I'm so passionate about trims. When COVID happened and people weren't going to the hair salons, guess what I did, y'all? I put out a video on how you can trim your own hair. So I had to think about that thing for a long time because I was not the stylist who recommended trimming your own hair because it's not easy to do. And even as a hairstylist, I didn't even trim my own hair. I always got it done. It's very difficult to do, particularly when you get to the back. But I know you all need it. I know not everyone goes to the hair salon. Like I said, I know not everyone is comfortable with someone doing their hair. Not everyone can go to the hair salon, or you may have had a poor experience and you're just not going to the hair salon. I get it. So if you go to my channel, I have a 20-minute video on how you can trim your own hair step by step. So you can definitely learn how to do it from a professional, how to trim your own hair, if that's something you want to do. Another thing that you can do, people will ask, well, can you trim your hair in braids? Somebody asked that, or twist. Let me see, let me find it. Yes. Can you trim your hair in twists? I'm going to twist up Tanika's hair for a moment, because even Angel said trim slowly and protective style. And what the protective style does, I'm just twisting up a piece of hair, y'all. What the protective style does with a trim, a protective style, it's a low, protective styles are like low manipulation styles. So those are the styles with protective styles that are, um, you're not manipulating your hair as much. And when you're not manipulating your hair as much, then you're just able to get more, you are able to retain more length because you're not getting a lot of breakage with protective styles. You're leaving your hair alone. So one of the reasons that we experience breakage is because we manipulate, but it's hair. So you have to manipulate your hair. You have to wash it. You have to condition it. You have to comb it. You have to detangle it. That's a normal part of grooming on one hand, but it's also the thing that may be leading to breakage. So you can minimize that breakage by just doing styles that once the style is done, you leave it alone. You don't have to do anything else to it. So protective styles definitely help, with tucking away the ends so that you're leaving them alone. So I definitely recommend protective styles. And even with protective styles, remember protective styles, you should not neglect your hair. So make sure, even if you're in a protective style, make sure you are not neglecting your hair and moisturizing your hair. Okay, so let me show y'all this with a trim. People have said, well, can you trim your hair in twists? To answer that question, yes, you can trim your hair in twist. However, I do not recommend that you get in a habit of solely trimming your hair in twist. Like that's your signature, trimming it in twists. Now, because I'm a hairstylist, I'm going to use the technical terms. I recommend that you do a lot of what I call dusting, meaning you're just trimming off the scraggly hair. I think I made that word up. But another thing with trims and twists, when your hair is in twists, right? Look at Tanika's hair. What do you see? You see the hair is fuller here, and then it's thinner at the end, right? So with Tanika's hair, would all of her hair, would all of this need to be trimmed? Now, this is just an example. Her hair is, I'm sure she needs a full haircut because I play in it so much. But generally speaking, when you twist your hair, Your hair should be relatively full from root to end. I said relatively full because the hair at the end is the older hair. So it's not going to be exactly, it's not going to be the same amount of hair from the root to the end. The ends of the hair, it is going to get a little thinner, and that's just from normal weathering of the hair, but it should not be significantly thinner. When it's significantly thinner, then that's an indication that you may need a trim. But so you can trim your ends when it's in twist. But the reason why I do not recommend that you solely trim your ends. Now, y'all, I forgot to actually grab my cutting shears, so I'm just going to use these just for demonstration. So what you can do, I'm trying to find some place. What you can do in twist, you can trim the ends. Like you can trim off, you'll see little straggly pieces coming out from your ends, from your twist. That's fine. But what you don't want to do, you don't want to get in a habit of just giving yourself a trim in twist, because what that is going to result in, it's going to result in uneven hair. When your hair is twisted, have you ever noticed when you two strand twist your hair toward the bottom, sometimes you might have to connect. Let me see. When you two strand twist your hair, sometimes at the bottom, you start to lose hair at the bottom. The hair doesn't feel even. Like one side of the twist might be thicker than the other side of the twist. I'm doing this, and out of all days, I have on a black shirt, so I don't even think you can see it. Um, hmm. Okay, here's an example. Oh, Lord, y'all, I'm trying. Okay. Oh, you can't see this. Oh, okay. You can't see it. I just have to explain it. What happens when you get to the end of the hair? The end of the hair may not be even. Okay, here's a better example. This is Tanika's hair. This is the hair I just cut. So this is the piece of hair that I just trimmed off, y'all. And what can you see? The hair is not even, right? So if you're constantly in a habit of twisting your hair up and cutting your hair in twists, it's going to result in uneven hair. And that is why I do not recommend that you get in a habit of twisting, of trimming your hair into strand twists. You can do what I call a hit or miss, but just doing the hit or miss, doing the stragglies, doing the dusting, but don't get in the habit of just trimming it into strand twists. It's better if you blow dry it out, then trim it on your own. And in the video that I posted, the hair is blow dried straight. Okay, so let me go through and answer some of your questions. How can you tell frizz from breakage? Okay, Candace, that's a good question. Frizz from breakage. If the hair is straight, you can easily tell. If you blow dry your hair, particularly if you blow dry and flat iron it, you can easily tell frizz from breakage, because if you try to flat iron split ends, they're not flat. They look puffy. So if you try to flat iron and wrap your hair, you're going to get a puff daddy at the bottom. So that's one way that you can tell. Frizz from breakage. Frizz from breakage is just that. It is the hair. If you're moisturizing your hair and if you're touching your hair, you're putting your moisturizer in it. And if you're going to the bottom of your hair, and if it's feeling much different than what's above it, so the healthier hair here, and if the texture feels different, then that's a way that you can tell that that's frizz from breakage. If you're touching it and if you're seeing little wispy hair kind of looks like eyelashes. If you see eyelash type hair, then you know that's breakage, because when your hair breaks, you're going to have a long strand. The length of the strand is really contingent upon the length of your hair, but the strands are going to be longer. Even if your hair is layered, right? The strands may not be the same length, but the strands from breakage is significantly shorter than your hair shaft. So that's a way you can feel it. If it feels frayed, if it feels not smooth, I'm gonna use the word smooth very loosely. but you can feel the difference. And if you're touching it and if you're seeing these little pieces, just like this, you're touching this, you can't see these little pieces of yarn coming out in my hand, then that's breakage. I think I answered this question. I recommend 3 to 4 times, once a quarter or every 3 to 4 months, or at least twice a year. At least twice a year. Now, somebody said, what if you have CCCA? CCCA is a hair loss clinical term, which means central centrifugal cicatricial hair loss. So it's a type of hair loss that affects many Black women. It's a scarring alopecia, it's inflammatory. So even if you have a hair loss disorder, a hair loss disorder really affects the scalp. It affects the hair that's coming out. The trim is really about the ends of the hair. So if you have a hair loss disorder, particularly CCCA, the one thing that you really want to be mindful of, any type of hair loss disorder, not just CCCA, is the dryness, making sure you are maintaining um, a moisture balance in your hair, which is in part why you all know that I have a product line, but I'm doing some changes to the product line to really focus on moisture and or moisture therapy to make sure that our hair is getting proper moisture. So even if you have a hair loss disorder, you should still be getting a trim. Now, the frequency at which you get a trim is really may vary because your hair may not, depending on what you're doing with your hair. If your hair is not growing as fast here, growth here is different from length retention here. So even if you have a hair loss disorder, you should still get a trim, because a trim has everything to do with length retention, not with growth. Now, you may want, if you are dealing with hair loss, I get it, you don't want to put shears or scissors to your hair as often, then at least twice a year. But really talk to your stylist and really monitor your ends, even with the hair loss disorder. Monitor your ends. Let's see. All right. Okay, so we got a lot of people here that's getting those trims every 3 months. I get mine every 3 months. I'm literally every quarter. So I had a blowout like the beginning of January. So actually I get my trim tomorrow, actually. I think I've answered this question in terms of twisting your hair. Is it better wet or dry? That's contingent upon the stylist. Many stylists will do it dry, but you don't have to do it dry. But I do think many stylists do it dry because you can see the ends more. With blown out straight hair, blown out straight hair does not mean flat iron. It just means blown out with a dryer. If you're doing it yourself, I absolutely recommend you do it dry if you're not a trained stylist. Again, the video, just put in trim your own hair on my channel and it will come up. Hey, Miss Patricia. Hey, Miss Blue. Uh, let's see. All right. All right, I see a few more questions. I'm going to answer these questions about trims. Then I'm going to go back to the questions that's not relevant to trims. Once a year. So, Luana, if it's once a year, it's more than not at all. So, I'm the type of person where I encourage you, I meet you where you are. And I feel like knowledge is power, but knowledge only becomes power when that knowledge is applied. So make sure you apply what you're learning. Once a year, if you're to the place where you only do it once a year is better than not at all. But check your ends. Like you have to, I want you to know your hair better than I know your hair, better than your hairstylist knows your hair. You spend the most amount of time with your hair. Nobody should know your hair better than you. You should not go to a hairstylist and your hairstylist knows your hair better than you. And that is because um, you're with your hair 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Your hairstylist is only with you 2 or 3 hours once or twice a month, if that. So I want you to be very proactive with your hair. I want you to feel your hair. I want you to monitor your hair. I want you to look at your ends to say, oh God, I can see what Karen means. You twist your hair up, you see a lot of hair that's thin at the end. Oh yeah, I may need a trim. Oh, when is the last time I trimmed my hair? Oh, why does my hair feel super dry? Why does it feel super frizzy? Like, I want you to know the difference. Let's see. Okay, let me I see your questions, 10 speed. I got you. I'm gonna answer you in a moment. I'm gonna answer these questions relevant to trims, and then I'll answer the other questions. What causes hair to have the little knots on the balls? I see them in wash and goes mostly. So the little knots are called fairy knots or single strand knots, um, fairy knots or single strand knots. Single strand knots, all it is, it's when your hair sheds. So you know your hair naturally sheds, right? It naturally sheds. And when it sheds, the hair falls out, but because our hair is curly, many times our hair doesn't come out the way it was when our hair was straight and we saw hair all over the pillow, hair in the bathroom, hair everywhere when it shed. But when it's curly, it kind of stays in the hair shaft. So if you have, when the hair is curly, because you said you see them a lot in wash and goes, you probably will see more single strand knots in wash and goes because the hair is not stretched. When your hair is stretched, when I say stretch, meaning it can be stretched dry using a blow dryer and a flat iron, or it can be stretched in twists. The hair is stretched. All of the hair is stretched out. So when it's stretched and the hair sheds, if it's in a two-strand twist and the hair sheds, the hair does not fall out. So it doesn't drop down. It's released from the hair follicle, but it's not loose in the hair shaft. It's still twisted up. So when you take the twist out, your hair, you can just run your hands through your hair and pull out that shed hair. But when it's in a wash and go, when it's curly or twist out or something like this, it releases from the shaft, but it gets caught up in the old hair at the end. And that is why you typically see it in wash and goes and not so much if your hair is stretched or in twists. But it's many things that you can do about little knots. It's an indication that you may need a trim. You may need to put more oil at the ends. Oil provides the lubrication, provides the slip for your hair. So that's pretty common. Let's see, 10 speed. You have a few questions. Let's see. Do you have an opinion about all these hair growth oils guaranteeing new growth fast? I see a lot of hair oil advertising on social media. Even Oprah has an advertisement on hair oil on social media. Very good question, 10 speed. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I think you asked me this a while ago. And it's on my list to do a video, but let me go ahead and answer this. And let me tell you what I feel about hair growth oils, hair growth serums, and stuff like that. So in general, in terms of hair growth and hair growth oils, hair growth in general, hair growth is an inside job. So first of all, hair grows from blood circulation to the scalp. Hair grows from the nutrients in the blood and oxygen in the blood, feeding the hair follicle, causing the hair to grow in the circulation. A lot of oils or serums have a lot of botanicals, plants, things in them that stimulate growth. So there are a lot of botanicals right from the earth that stimulate growth. They're applied topically, they penetrate into the hair shaft, and penetrate into the scalp, reaching a lower level of the skin that will help increase and stimulate growth in a nutshell. Now, the word guaranteeing is the key word because I don't feel like I take a different approach to hair growth. So, yes, there are oils that do encourage growth. Now, you said new growth fast. Fast is the buzzword. Something can only grow in faster if it has been slowed down. That's how something can grow faster. Your rate of growth is really contingent upon your genetics. So some people can grow 6 inches of hair per year or a half an inch of hair per month. That's all contingent upon genetics. Generally speaking, is a half an inch, but most people will grow a little less than a half an inch. Some people will grow a half an inch. Other people will grow a little faster than a half an inch. That's all contingent upon genetics. Now, There are many things that compromise our growth cycle. So our hair grows in cycles. The growing cycle is called the anagen cycle. So with the anagen cycle, many things, hormones can compromise the growth cycle, the anagen cycle. um, Stress can compromise the growing cycle. Nutrient deficiencies can compromise the growing cycle. So if people are if there are oils or things that you apply topically that makes your hair grow faster, that is just because your hair growth cycle has slowed down. Your hair can only grow as fast as what is genetically possible for you. Let me say that one more again. Your hair can only grow as fast as what is genetically possible for you. So some people will say, I used this oil and it made my hair grow faster. That is because your hair growth cycle had slowed down. If everything in the body is working normally, if you don't have any issues with hair growth, if nothing is compromised in the body and your hair is growing the way it normally grows, then many times hair growth oils and serums are not going to work because ain't nothing wrong. So I feel like in our society in this day and age, we have a lot of things that's going on internally that and externally that is compromising our hair growth. So if Oprah has an advertisement, and like you, I see them all everywhere. Like, hair care, hair loss, scalp care is my thing. So of course I get a ton of ads on use this one bottle of hair oil and this is going to solve all of your hair challenges. I do not agree with that. I have I take issue with it as a trichologist, and which is why I kind of struggled at some point, even when I released my product line, to really release it to the masses, because I know in terms of growing hair, for many people, it's going to take more than one bottle of growth drops or one bottle of hair oil to regrow your hair. You have to look at so many other things going on internally, which is why I encourage people to grow differently. So, to take a holistic approach to your hair growth, don't just focus on what's in the bottle. What's in the bottle, yes, has its benefits. What I'm holding up is my follicle stimulating growth drops that have a ton of botanicals in it that really do encourage growth. And a lot of things, even in terms of oils and stuff like that, there have been studies, Tinsby, that actually show. Many of these studies are on mice. Some have been on people. And usually the studies are very small because a lot of times when you're using natural plants and stuff from the earth, there's not a lot of money that's put into clinical trials to support these type of trials. But anyway, there are many studies about the benefits of many types of botanicals in our products that do help with growth, but it's not the end all be all. You have to take a holistic approach, focus on the inside and external. And what I can say as well in terms of this question, these hair growth oils, you really have to get to the root cause of what's causing your hair to come out in the first place. And if it's something rooted on the inside, if your hair is coming out because you are stressed out, then there is no amount of oil that you can put on your scalp that can mitigate the stress that's going on within your body. You have to take different approaches. You have to mitigate the hair loss due to minimizing the stress, for example. So that is my opinion. That was a long opinion, but that is my opinion on these hair growth oils. And also, if you're using something topically to your scalp, because again, I take a two-pronged approach, internal and external. You can have some deficiencies at the scalp level that will help, so you can use a product and you see that it's working, but then at some point it stops working. That is because it addressed a topical issue that affected hair growth, but not an internal issue. So if it's working in the beginning and then it stopped, then that's usually because it is something going on internal. Okay, I got all that out. Somebody give me a high five, amen. There we go. I'm a high five myself. Okay, all right. Let's see. Let's see. Stacy just ordered the drops last week. Yay! Looking forward to starting the new regimen. Fabulous. As I say, don't forget, Stacy, use the drops topically, but grow differently. So make sure you are taking an internal approach. Take a holistic lifestyle with hair growth and healthy hair care, because ultimately healthy hair grows from a healthy body. If you have things going on within your body, it's going to affect your hair. Even basic things as simple as water is something I talk about all the time. Water, because I feel like everybody can drink more water. Drink more water. If you're not drinking enough water, it affects your hair. It affects circulation to your hair. If you're taking a vitamin for hair growth, but if you're not drinking the water, then the water is what helps the vitamins circulate through your body to do what it needs to do. So drink more water. If you're not drinking enough water, that also affects the health of your hair, your growth cycle, your rate of growth, and your the hydration of your hair as well. So Stacy, make sure you grow differently, my dear. Question: how can you differentiate between frizzy hair and hair breakage? That's a very good question. Hair breakage, hair. Well, let me remix that question a little bit to explain it. Frizzy hair and hair breakage. Frizzy hair doesn't mean your hair is broken. Frizzy hair can mean many things. In part, meaning it has a lot of moisture, over moisturized. Can be frizzy hair. Dry hair can create frizzy hair. So the frizziness of your hair has nothing to do with the breakage. Sometimes frizziness can lead to breakage, but if you can distinguish between shed hair and broken hair is if you take a hair strand and if you look at it, and if you look very closely, you'll many times, not all times, but many times, you'll see a little white bulb. And a white bulb means the hair has kind of naturally shed from the shaft. So if you see a white bulb, that's a shed hair. If you don't see that white bulb, many times it is hair that is broken. Now, sometimes that your hair will shed and you don't see the white bulb, but most times you'll see that white bulb. So that's how you can distinguish between the two. But frizzy hair is just that. It's just frizzy hair. It may need more moisture. It may have too much moisture. You may be able to put some oil in the hair as well. So frizzy hair is just how the hair looks. It doesn't mean that it's broken. Shed hair and broken hair, look for that white bulb to determine whether or not it's shed or whether or not it's broken. And also look at the size of the hair strand. You know how long your hair is. And also, I wanted to take this little opportunity. I'm right down toward the end. I have a few more questions that I'll answer. But this is really what my academy is about, y'all. What 10 Speed asks about the hair oils. That's what my Curl House Academy, Let's Get Growing, my signature program, that's what it's all about. It's really about taking that holistic approach to healthy hair growth, not just using the product. And even though I have products, I still, it's not enough just to use a hair product for a lot of people. Many times, particularly as we age, particularly what I've seen when we are a little more mature and we hit that 40 plus, we need to do a little more than what we did in the 20s, in our 20s, or even in our 30s. So really that's what my academy is all about. We take this holistic approach. We look at everything as it relates not just to your hair. Your hair, actually, y'all, is the bonus, right? We look at the health. We take that holistic approach, looking at how our health affects our hair. And that's the approach that I take in Let's Get Growing, in terms of growing differently, looking at things that may be affecting the health of your hair, affecting your health of your scalp, addressing those things first, then addressing the hair. So believe it or not, in my academy and in my signature program, hair is last. So yes, I flip hair care on its head. No pun intended, but I flip it on its head, and we really address hair care last, because healthy hair is a bonus, y'all. It's the byproduct of what's going on within the body. If you're dealing with hair loss, usually that is a symptom. Hair loss is a symptom of what's going on within in the body. So we take approach where I help you navigate what's going on with your hair. We go on a self discovery so that you can figure out, I can help you to get to the root cause of your hair loss or of your hair challenges, because you don't just have to be dealing with hair loss to be a part of the Let's Get Growing program. Now, my next program actually starts on Tuesday. It is virtual. It is set up in a Zoom format where I get to see you and you get to see me, and we can interact and we talk. You also get a workbook, and you get a workbook because you have work to do. It Most of the program requires that you make a lifestyle change, and a lifestyle change is not easy. A lifestyle change takes work. So the program is not a program where you'll just sit down and you're going to meet with me for a couple hours a week and then you do nothing. No, the real work starts during the week when you have to implement the things that I suggest. You have to implement the knowledge. Remember, knowledge is not power unless it is applied. So I want you to apply the things that you are learning in the program. So if you want more information, if you want to sign up, go to curlhouseacademy.com. Curlhouseacademy.com. You get more information. It starts on Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and it is pre-recorded. So if you miss something, no problem. You will definitely you'll get the replay. So next Tuesday, the program starts. Okay, I'm gonna go back in as I wrap up and answer some questions because I don't think I answered everyone's question. Okay. Fabulous. You started trimming your own ends during the pandemic. Fantastic. Again, for those of you all who are just joining me, I have a video on how you can trim your own ends. Go to my YouTube channel, do a trim yourself at home. It's a 20-minute video. I took my time doing the video because if you're going to trim your own ends, then you have to do it right. And it's going to take time. Even as a hairstylist, I don't trim my own ends. Adrian, how can I safely blow dry my hair? You know what? I'm getting my ends trimmed this weekend. I'm going to do a video on just how to safely blow dry the hair. But real quick, in a nutshell, wash your hair, go through your process of cleansing and conditioning your hair. When the hair is wet, what you can do one of two things. You can either put your hair in big chunky twists, let it air dry overnight, or let it air dry for a few hours. Then take the blow dryer with a comb. I don't even have it. Start from the ends and work your way up. So if you let your hair air dry a little bit, then you're not putting as much direct heat from the hand dryer. So you're not putting as much heat. Make sure you use a thermal protector as well. There are thermal protectors by Design Essentials, a lot of leave-in conditioners. A leave-in conditioner, when you're blow drying it, let me restate that. You can use a thermal protector when you're flat ironing it, and you can use one when you're blow drying it. But with the blow dry, most leave-in conditioners have enough thermal protectors already in them that you can spray your leave-in conditioner to safely blow dry your hair. Let me clarify that. So your hair doesn't have to be saturated wet to hand dry it. It doesn't have to be saturated wet. You can let it air dry for a few hours, or if you have a hooded dryer, you can sit under a hooded dryer for about 5 minutes to get some of that moisture out with that indirect heat from a hooded dryer. Then you can start to use your hand blow dryer. So I hope that makes sense. I'm gonna do a video on that for you too. Yes, Stacy, that is in our course. I do a part of the course, the Let's Get Growing. You do send pictures to me. So even though it's a group course, y'all, it's still very intimate. So you are sending pictures of your hair. Not only that, in addition to the course, we have one of the classes is actual hands-on. So yes, you are sending pictures of your hair, you are sending pictures of your scalp, but we also have a full hands-on styling course. So one of the days is actually a bonus that you'll actually have your hair wet and prepped, and I'll send out all instructions before the hands-on, and we all sit and we all style our hair. And I'll show you two signature styles, the proper way to do it. I make sure that your hair is properly moisturized, properly sealed. If you seal, you're using certain styling products. So yes, we do all of that in the course. You actually send pictures in the course as well. Um, Again, it starts next Tuesday. I have payment plan options available as well, but it is 7 full weeks. So you will see me for 7 weeks, y'all, many times. 7 weeks, and you get to work directly with me in the class. Okay, let's see. All right, it's 1:30. I'm going to be wrapping up soon. And let me check. All right. Thanks. You can uh good video. See if next good style. I just moved west last year and I'm still trying to pay attention to my hair without open. Good for you, live, work, clean. You just moved here. A I don't know. Unfortunately, I cannot give you any recommendations of a hairstylist. But I love giving out this information on hair. I have a um, ton of stuff online that you can use, ton of hairstyles. I don't do styling as much, but they're up there. Two strand twist, wash and go is on my scalp. PA Williams, the site to purchase my scalp serum is curlhouse.com. Curlhouse.com. You will see when you go to the website, it's um, a whole lot of stuff that's sold out, and that is because I am in the middle of a rebrand. So I am rebranding my product line. Um, so a lot of stuff is sold out. I am going to have a fabulous launch party in a few months when I release the new product line. It's not, some of it is stuff that I already have. I just stepped it up a notch, y'all, because like I said, I realized that we need moisture. Like moisture and growth is the number one concerns that I see with my community. So I'm making some tweaks. Hold on, I'm putting a website in here. I'm sorry. Okay, here it is. So I'm making some tweaks to my products to make sure that I am like thoroughly addressing the issue with dryness and growth. So, um, okay. So this is the website, curlhouse.com. Little you want to, you can use code YT15. That's YouTube 15 to get 15% off as well. But like I said, the growth drops is the only product that's up there now. I do have books because I'm an educator. I also have a scalp massager that's on the website. Everything else is out of inventory because I'm in the process of rebranding. So you will see very soon. You'll get messages on my I'm gonna have something fabulous launch party for my new product line, upgraded product line that's coming out. Little, you said you love your channel, you have hair loss and following your suggestions. Do you ship? I do ship to the UK. Little, um, I do ship to the UK, but you have to send me an email. So you have to send me an email. The email is info@curlhouse.com. Or if you go to curlhouse.com, you can click on contact me and send the email, or you can send me an email directly to info@curlhouse.com. And then I can let you know how I can ship to you. I ship to the UK all the time, actually. Um, okay. All right. Let's see. And I'm going to wrap up. I'm going to wrap up here, y'all. I will be back. I will be back. So I'm going to wrap up here. Can growth oils cause CCCA? Good question, Ka. No, I don't think growth oils cause CCCA. Growth CCCA is inflammation, and it's not the growth oils in and of itself. I don't think it would be the cause. I think certain growth oils can exacerbate the CCCA. Now, I'll say this. CCCA, in terms of its origin, the origin of CCCA, which is again, it is inflammation. The origin of it was from I guess, oil actually. Back in the day, back in the 50s, before we actually had relaxers, we would put grease in our hair, we would heat it up, and that heat would kind of triculate down to the scalp and burn the scalp. That was what was proposed, rather, as the origin of CCCA. But now, um, that's not, the doctors and the experts say they're not really sure what the cause of CCCA is. They're not sure what the cause of CCCA. Put on for 3 months. Oh, okay. So, and you said you experienced it and was put on 3 months of antibiotics, steroid, or 3 days a week. That is great. So if you have CCCA and you were put on antibiotics and a steroid, so both of those will address the inflammation 3 days a week, your hair has grown back. That is fantastic because you addressed it early and you caught it quick. That's fabulous. So, like I said, I don't know if the oils in and of itself caused it, because our hair and our scalp, our hair loves oil. Our scalp produces an oily like or sebum lipid substance. But if you know that putting oil on your scalp caused the inflammation, then stop. So it's so many causes. There's so many things that can cause hair loss, and that's why you have to listen to your hair, listen to your scalp, and do what works best for your scalp. So I'm glad you were able to catch it early because CCCA can lead to permanent hair loss. So thank God your hair grew back. Kudos. But and with CCA, in terms of the cause, there has been some recent research that came out that indicated that it may be a genetic component too. Okay, y'all, I could keep going and going and going. I did answer your question. I know this was a great question. So let's see. I think I answered that. I hope I answered that. Like I said, CCCA, I do talk about it more in my program. It is help for CCCA. If you are experiencing, I will end on this note. If you are experiencing hair loss, scalp challenges, go and see a dermatologist or a trichologist, y'all. In terms of scalp challenges and hair loss, if you're dealing with it, the best type of treatment is early treatment. The best type of treatment. A dermatologist can diagnose CCCA. So if you have CCCA, a dermatologist can actually do a biopsy to actually diagnose it. So, and give you treatment plans. A trichologist, we cannot say that you have CCCA. We can recognize that it may be CCCA. We can definitely treat the inflammation. We have a treatment plan as well. Our treatment plan for a trichologist is really holistic. It's not just antibiotics and steroids. That works too, but we take a holistic approach. We look at everything, what's going on internally and externally. So I think if you are dealing with hair loss, go and see something, because the earlier you treat it, the better it is. The longer your hair follicles are exposed to inflammation, or to poor circulation, or the longer they are sitting dormant, the harder it will be to restore your hair. The harder it will be to restore your hair. Um, Okay, you are welcome. You're welcome. 10 speed. No, I'm not in Chicago anymore. I'm not in Chicago anymore, because I'm rebranding, but my website is curlhouse.com. You can go to the website so you can get on my email listserv too. And I think you follow me on Instagram. Okay, y'all, I know I wasn't able to answer everyone's question, but I think I got through most of them. So thanks again for joining me, you all. I appreciate you all. I'm about to get off this live. I'm about to go edit my YouTube video that I'm going to post on Saturday, which is going to be all about your styling tools. Do you know your styling tools might be leading to hair breakage? Yes, your styling tools. So we're going to talk about that on Saturday. So I'll see you on Saturday on the YouTube video, and I'll see you next week. And until we talk again, stay fabulous.